Hi, it's Jo. Today I'm talking about ADHD. There are many conditions that I see in my practice where I just sit back and question the validity of the disorder itself, and ADHD is one of those. Now, I'm not suggesting that there are not organic and neurological presentations in which the young brains are overstimulated. There are, but the idea that all kids who can't sit still, who can't focus, and who meet this tick box diagnostic criteria that us in psychology and psychiatry use is just absurd. There are too many problems with misdiagnosis, and there are treatment regimes which are potentially worse than the condition itself. When a child is disruptive in class or has difficulty listening and cannot sit still at school or at home, ADHD is often the first concern a teacher or a GP or a parent has. However, I have learned through my 25 years of clinical experience that this isn't always the case. I see such gross and increasing misdiagnoses with ADHD that just can't be overlooked, and it's backed by research. There is the Michigan State University study which reported nearly 1 million children in the US alone being misdiagnosed with ADHD. Now, it could be a bunch of other reasons why a child can't sit still and has problems with attention and focusing. It could be hearing or other sensory problems. It could be giftedness, so that they have a higher intelligence than their peers and they're understimulated in class. It could be diet. It could be parenting and discipline approaches. It could be learning or cognitive disabilities. It could be sleeping issues. In older children, it might be substance misuse, or it could be some other form of mental disorder, depression or anxiety. It could be trauma. It could be maladaptive learning environments. The list is endless, but also it could be nothing at all. My job as a clinical psychologist is to try and get the diagnosis right so that the treatment is also appropriate and fits the presentation. It's not my job to simply tick boxes and qualify a child for a set of criteria, because any one of us at any given time can potentially meet a diagnosis for some condition in the DSM, which is the Psychs and Psychiatrist Diagnostic Manual. If that's how your child was diagnosed with ADHD, then you could be one of the millions who've been misdiagnosed. Now, I want to tell you about some simple, obvious and common sense strategies that don't involve medicating your child or resorting to some long-term psychotropic or pharmaceutical drug that is going to have potentially long-lasting effects on a developing nervous system and brain. I want to get you back to nature. Conditions like ADHD aren't found in some geographic areas of the world. There are indigenous cultures where these sorts of presentations are they don't exist. We have more mental health issues in concentrated areas, so where you live is really important. For instance, big cities, much more mental illness there than in more sparse areas. Depression is 20% higher in urban dwellings than it is in those who live outside of the city. Everything is energy, and the energy of a hustling and bustling city environment is very different from the energy of an open and tranquil countryside. Now, you don't need to be a professor in physics or energy auditing to know this. You already know this. You feel it. It's intuitive to you. We are meant to be living as part of nature. That's how we are designed. It's innate to us. It's innate to all living creatures. What makes humans think that they are any different? We are part of the animal collective, and nature is a part of our blueprint as a species. If you think about the history of colonization throughout the world, invasion of indigenous tribes, well, the invaders intentionally destroyed and intentionally removed their occupants' connection with nature, because nature was their god, their strongest, deepest, most powerful influencer. And to colonize, they had to conquer and they had to reprogram. And that meant destroying the existing connection and recreating a new one. So we kind of went from Mother Nature to founding fathers. It's all about a shift of power, of influence and servitude to a new order, another way. a way that ensures servitude, a way that guarantees sickness and disempowerment. From the age of 4, sometimes younger, we are put into a classroom, into the education system, and our programming commences. Well, it probably starts well before the age of 4, but this is where it's really imprintable. This is where it's really defined and clear. A classroom of 30-odd kids sitting, focusing, learning for 6 hours a day, 5 days a week, for 13 plus years or more. That's not our natural learning state. This is by design, not by nature. It's artificial. We're born creative geniuses, but it's soon forced out of us. It has to be if our belief system's going to be reprogrammed. There have been studies done on this, and it's actually quite fascinating. I'm not going to go into it here in this video, but I do talk about it in much more depth in my Life Detox course. There's studies by NASA that have shown how our creative potential is decreased as soon as we start entering the educational system, and it decreases and continues to decrease as long as we stay part of it. All the kids I see with ADHD or ODD, which is oppositional defiant disorder, are brought to me with attention problems. They're brought to me because they can't sit still, they can't focus, they have poor attention, they don't comply with school rules or rules at home. They're resistive, they're argumentative, potentially destructive, they're failing at school, whatever it is. They're often either on medication or about to go on medication, and they're brought to me to be fixed so that they can fit in with the expectations of the schooling system, or to achieve according to a prescribed curricula or social narrative, or this idea of what a good, compliant 8-year-old should look like. It's always the child, though, that has to be fixed. It's never the parents, the school, the teacher, the environment, the society. So by default, the child is again pathologized just by their mere attendance in my clinic, in my room. And the clinic's an artificial and sterile environment too. You know what happens when we completely change the child's diet? We overhaul the parenting programs, the environment. We take away the label, and we take the child out of the classroom and bring them into their natural environment, their natural habitat, into nature. They begin to calm, they begin to settle, and they begin to create, and they begin to heal. See, nature is a creative force. It's the ultimate energy. It's the energy from which all living creatures, and not just living creatures, all things respond. Think of the great powerful oceans that are in tune with the phases of the moon. The tides will ebb and flow accordingly. All things are part of this great powerful system, including us. We are intimately connected to nature in a very powerful way. But just like colonization, we're going through this mass destruction, this cleansing, and we're being intentionally and forcibly restrained from connecting with our ultimate healer, our replenisher, this power system, which I'm calling nature. See, when your child is out of the classroom and connected to their innate and natural intelligence via nature, that's when we get results. A child can learn to survive, thrive, or die through their environment. What happens when you take an indoor plant and position it in the middle of the yard in direct sunlight and expose it to the elements? It won't survive. It's so common sense to me that these truths should be obvious to others, especially to professionals. Some cases they are, other cases they are not. Separation from the natural energy state will always result in rebelliousness, in destructiveness, and in ill health. Some of us can adapt, some cannot. If a child is naturally a creative child, an emotional child, a sensitive child, an expressive being, a little artist, then you get that child and you tie that child to a chair and you force them to repeat their 8 times tables over and over, or to write their alphabet over 20 times. What do you think is going to happen? They're going to resist. Their energy is incompatible with that type of environment and that type of learning. That doesn't mean there's something wrong with them. It means there's something wrong with the way we are viewing their innate intelligence. If you judge a goldfish by how well it climbs a tree, it's going to spend its entire life believing it's a failure and stupid. All the therapy and medication in the world will not help that goldfish under those circumstances. It just needs a bigger fish bowl, or better still, a pond with other goldfish, like-minded goldfish, to flourish and thrive. Our education system assumes we are all the same, and there's one script for all of us. It's a cookie-cutter system, and it has no place for goldfish who want to stay in their pond. They must learn to climb trees, and this is where the rebellion and the destructiveness and the problems stem. We are getting the most beautiful and perfect goldfish, and we're feeding them sewage, and we're forcing them to climb trees, and then we're wondering, why the heck are they resisting? And we think they are the problem. This causes pain. It causes severe and extreme stress and frustration in children who much of the time have not even developed the autonomy or the capacity to articulate and express their feelings and thoughts. Instead of designing beautiful metaphoric ponds and swimming holes for them that are compatible with their creative potential and natural uniqueness and individuality, we are medicating them and pathologizing them and taking them to therapy and forcing them to accept a script that we have written for them. The expectations of a system they were never designed to be part of, and a system that probably contributed to their unwellness to start with. So you might have one of these fish that are out of water. They may be oppositional or defiant or inattentive. They possibly are intense, and this is them flailing around in a desperate bid to not climb the tree. Now, I know this is challenging if you're a parent or a guardian or a teacher with children that are presenting with quite serious ADHD symptoms. You're probably feeling under-resourced, you're no doubt tired, you don't know what to do, you're being told all sorts of conflicting things by professionals, and you're probably at your wit's end. You've probably resorted to medication because nothing else was working, and I'm sure you've done everything that you can with what you have at the time, and potentially you're even wondering if it's your fault. Well, it's not your fault. This whole thing is not about fault. It's about finding a way back to basics, to one's natural state, to nurture both you as a teacher or parent or caregiver and your child, so that both of you can be thriving and ultimately feeling true and authentic peace and contentment. Now, if this sounds ridiculously obvious and common sense and simple, that's because it is. But how many people these days have common sense? Few people are thinking for themselves. Professionals often just regurgitate the things that they've learned through the same educational and tertiary systems that are part of the problem I speak to. ADHD is a controversial diagnosis, even among health professionals. Not all of us are willing to apply one of these labels, and those of us with years of intimate experience in this field have seen the patterns too many times to not notice and pay attention. Now, I don't want to dismiss or overly simplify what you're going through, because I know it's hard. I know it's really hard. But I do want to encourage you to think twice, to take action, and to see this video as a message of hope, and to realize that you probably have more power than you even realize. There is a time and there is a place for medication. I'm not denying this, and I don't want to be misquoted here, but the evidence around natural approaches is undeniable. If you need more help or support, you might want to consider looking into my Life Detox course. It's cheaper than even one single session with me, and I will happily provide you with the link if you're interested. You can message me, email me on energymedicine777@gmail.com. Otherwise, find someone that speaks sense. Trust your intuitive state. Professionals are not the experts in your life. You are. You already know and you already have the answers. You just have to start to listen to what resonates with you and find the power to return to this state. A state that was, is, and always will be uniquely your own. Now, if you want more information on what I do, I'll be launching a Facebook page soon. It's currently up, so you can already go and find it under Brain and Beyond, but it's not officially launched. Feel free to go there and join and be the first to get all my new content. Otherwise, would love you to subscribe and stay here for updates. I will be providing a lot more content, and I am trying, as if you've been watching me for a while, trying to make the videos a bit more professional, but I'm learning, so it's still a bit of a process, a work in progress, but I really genuinely appreciate and grateful for your support. So that's it for now. Till next time, have a very happy and peace-filled day. Take care of yourselves and each other, and I will talk to you again soon. Bye for now.